Hello, gang. How is it going? So as you can see by this, apologies for being all up close and personal. I promise I will get back down into the corner of the screen pretty sharpish. But yeah, I've been wanting to do sort of videos like this, sort of more informative videos. Giving back to the GeoGuessr community, imparting my wealth of knowledge um, onto people, and hopefully, yeah, making sure that people learn a little bit more. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking people from this sort of base level. I've never played the game before. I don't really know how to do it. Don't really know what the world looks like. Sort of, and then progress up to the sort of the final level, the more master, the pro level, and pinpointing 5King. And believe me, as a disclaimer, I am by no means a pro. I am in and around top 1,000 in the world. I've been like 20th in the UK and like 580 something. But I am very much the bottom to bottom middle of the pros. I technically am in the same league as them though. But I have played a hell of a lot of GeoGuessr in my life. I'm coming up to about 10,000 games, and I like to think that I know a fair chunk. So yeah, without further ado, we'll get into it with step one. Right, so I've got a location here. I'm going to have 5 different versions of this location, and each time we're going to be getting a little bit closer because as you progress up the ranks of GeoGuessr, and what I'm certainly finding now, is the level of accuracy, the degree of accuracy you need to have. It gets smaller and smaller each time. I'm at a level now where I'm popping off a guess, which I'm like, that's sort of North Sulawesi vibes, and I know it's North Sulawesi vibes, and that's not good enough. I've got to then know which province of this little tiny bit of this massive country, which in my mind it's good enough just to get that. And then there's people who are like, I'm 50 miles away, and they're like 20 miles away. But sort of at your base level, when you're sort of, down in the ranks, just getting the right sort of general major vicinity is good enough. So when you first boot up the game, for your first boot up location, what you want to do, literally just look at your compass. I've got a compass down here, but I'm blocking it. So I've put one up here as well. The sun is directly in the north here. So that means you're in the southern hemisphere. And that rules out all of this. So I can, again, not to toot my own horn, but I'm at a level where I immediately know what country this is, just because, again, I've played a lot of this game, so it's sort of muscle memory by now. But if it's not, and you don't get it immediately, then you suddenly know that you are in the southern hemisphere. Because when the sun is in the north of the sky, that means you're in the south. When the sun is in the south of the sky, that means in the north. So that's pretty much the first level. If you can get the right half of the earth, then you're onto a winner immediately. So I'm going to see, are we in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean? This might be St. Helena, Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited place in the world, for those who do not know. And, oh my god, it's Argentina. Okay, well, we'll move on to the next level. So, once you figured out which hemisphere you're in, you're going to want to figure out which continent you're on. So, with it being the southern hemisphere, you're kind of in luck because most of the populated regions of the world, and most of the world actually, happens in the northern hemisphere. And therefore, most of the countries in GeoGuessr are in the northern hemisphere as well. You've got, pretty much all of Europe, a fair bit of Asia, most of North America. So then you've got a choice to make. You've got Latin America, Africa, Australasia, or Indonesia. And if you are at a position where you don't really know what those countries look like, don't really know the vibes, there's a few things that you can do which should pretty much narrow it down to what continent you're in. First up will be language. As you hear, we got Spanish. So Spanish, there's gonna be little pockets of Spanish people and Spanish communities all over the world. There might be a little Colombia in Melbourne for all I know. This doesn't look like it would be, downtown Melbourne. just my guess. So Spanish-speaking countries mainly in, well, predominantly in Latin America. You've got Portuguese, which is in Brazil. It's another thing figuring out the difference between those languages. But if you see not English, basically, that's the rule. And it's, you know, you got your itos, your antas, your antas. That's Spanish, you know. Indonesia does have its own language and languages, actually. And again, there are regional dialects, sort of the more indigenous popular languages. Certainly, if you look at place names around here, they sort of indigenous Aborigine, and I know you get Afrikaans and Swahili and whatnot in South Africa, but see Spanish, Latin America. And then side of the road you're driving on, so there's a big divide down about here, certainly in the southern hemisphere, as to what side of the road on, and that's all to do with us plucky Brits and our colonizing. Yay for the empire. We didn't get round to doing Latin America. We got round to pretty much the rest of the world, but the Spanish and the Portuguese that got there ahead of us. God damn. So in the ex-Commonwealth countries, they drive left. They predominantly drive left. So your Namibias, Botswanas, South Africas, Eswatini, Lesotho, Australia, New Zealand, and Indonesia. So that immediately rules out here. I know this guy is driving in the middle. He's purposefully trying to confuse us. But trust everyone else. And we are driving right. So yeah, that should mean that we're in Latin America. And that's it. You immediately rule out so much here. And when you're playing a duel, the distances here, that could be make or break, you know? That's tens of thousands of miles away, immediately from 3 easy things. Just checking the position of the sun, checking what language you're speaking, and checking what side of the road. That's it. And then you should know you're in, I mean, I won't put it in Brazil. I'm going to put it in Bolivia, just to see. What? It's Argentina again? Who knew? Right, so once you've figured out what continent you're in, you're going to want to figure out what country you're in. Again, spoilers, sorry, it's Argentina. So figuring out what country you're in can be a little more difficult if you don't understand the vibes. Again, vibes just takes a hell of a lot of playing. Again, I can sort of instantly look at this, and from muscle memory and from repetition, I know it's Argentina. But to get there, there's not going to be, there will be other rounds which aren't as obvious as this, and then you've got to use metas. And one thing I wanted to speak about, and this is actually quite specific almost to Latin America, because you can kind of get away with it in Europe and sort of American places where things are, we're better signposted. I think there's more signposted, there's more information where it tells you actually where you are. But one thing I wanted to speak about is the reliance on moving, and the reliance of moving and trying to get to a sign that might tell you where you are. Once you sort of take the training wheels off, so to speak, and this isn't putting down moving players, because it's a wholly different skill once you get to it. But I predominantly play no move, and once you take off the sort of more median beginner levels of having the crutch of moving and trying to move to get to a sign or some information that will tell you where you are, you become a better player, I think, when you just play no move and when you just have to take in your sort of surroundings around here. There's enough here to tell you that you're in Argentina, you know? And I spent way too long playing moving and playing that way of just being like, oh god, I don't know this, you know, and I need to get to a sign. And that actually put me back quite a way in my GeoGuessr career, where I was sort of daunted by playing no move in NMPZ because I didn't know the metas. But you pick them up and you're forced to pick them up. So first up is you want to check the number plates. So we have white, so that immediately, and again, there is a hell of a lot to learn. Hell of a lot to learn, and I by no means don't know everything. I know enough. So we immediately know we're not in Colombia, because Colombia is the only country in South America, and well, besides Israel and Holland and Luxembourg and maybe a few others, maybe a bit of Sri Lanka, only one that has yellow number plates. And then Argentina's a good one. It's a good one that's picked it because it does have specific number plates. So you see this here, that little black dot in the middle, that's an Argentinian number plate. That's only found in Argentina. That's the older one. This is the newer one. If you can kind of see on this guy driving just completely in the middle of the road. Maybe he's had some ice cold cervezas. Who can blame him when you got a view like this? Don't drunk drive. Kind of got a bluish strip. Again, this is just stuff you pick up from looking. To the untrained eye, that might not look like a bluish strip, but on the new number plates, it does. So yeah, that immediately from the start tells you in Argentina. Why can I not speak? Poles as well. Argentina has a lot of different kind of poles, but these here are very, very specific. Your chunky ones, you sort of, if they look a bit funky and they're thick and they're metallic, Argentina, or Argentina as I'm calling it. Then you got this guy here, black at the top, white. That's an Argentinian road sign, road marking. Tells you, well, we'll get into it afterwards. Tells you what road you're on. Don't have a black back of the sign. There's so much. So you know you're not in Brazil because you don't have a black back of the sign. It's not white and black because it's not Peru. And then I haven't even got into, well, car. You know, Argentina has specific cars. This car is specific to Argentina. You get the white, you get a blue car, you get more dark blue. Again, there's intricacies and levels to that. I don't know. And then when you really get into it, you can tell minute differences in the car. I can't do that. Again, I'm not at the top level. My brain can only retain so much information. There's like camera generation, there's copyright. If you want to look more into that, by all means do. I'm not the guy to talk about that. The way I play is more vibes based, and I can... Oh, I didn't even get to road lines, sorry. Road lines, we've got all white. That'll be Chile or Argentina, and that can be a bit of a 50-50 at times. I'll go down here though, because I do think... so we've got lots of different coverage. This is why I chose it when it was... that if I went further enough down here, there are road lines where it has a yellow, which, as we see here, yellow and white. So that's, again, Argentinian specific. You do get them in Uruguay, but it's either side. So if it was Chile, it would be all the same color. So we'll go back to the start. So yeah, Argentina also does have double yellow. Again, if like this isn't sort of explaining every single Argentina meta, it's just a sort of general thing. And then you get onto the vibes. So vibes are, it's dry, so it's not tropical, it looks colder, so it works out quite nicely in my brain and if you're closer to the equator, it's going to be hotter, you're going to be more tropical, it's going to be greener, you know, you're going to get sort of, the seasons aren't going to be as clear because this is very obviously winter, so we've got trees which have lost their leaves. So yeah, not tropical. Use the map. We're not massively hilly. We've got flatness. Yeah, we're not green. Just general sort of, you know, you pick it up, but it's kind of a little bit of common knowledge. And also, big thing in Argentina, you got the Andes running right down the west side of it. So, top tip is if you see a massive mountain range over to your west, a massive ridge, you're going to be somewhere along here. You know, it runs pretty much all the way down Argentina. If you're in Chile, you kind of have Chile, sorry, apologies. You kind of have mountains all over the place. and you do to a degree in Argentina as well, but predominantly over to your west, massive mountains, Argentina. And then flatness as well. It's, apart from the Andes, it's a really, really, really flat country. So yeah, that should tell you we're in Argentina. There's a lot more, honestly. Look at the guides, watch my videos, and just play. Play over and over and over and over again, and you'll pick it up. So we are in Argentina. So your next step, once you've figured out what country you're in, you need to figure out what part of your country you're in. So for some countries, I mean, if you get a Liechtenstein, I mean, you could probably pop a region guess off there. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Most small countries, unless you're on a really, really close in health, you can kind of just click middle. You know, Poland, notoriously hard to region guess because it all pretty much mostly looks the same, so you just click the middle. But there are countries like Argentina which are absolutely massive and to a degree quite diverse, so they look quite distinct, each region. So you've got the Atacama up here, you've got this whole bit down here, which is a nightmare to guess because it's just flat and dry with a few hills. And again, I'm trying to get so I can pick up the sort of minute differences in it. And then yeah, as I was saying before, it gets sort of like more hotter up here, sort of more tropical-ish looking. You've got a massive coastline, so again, look around. If you see coast, don't guess in the middle. Guess there. You can, you know, put it at least on a coast. You know, and then you should at least be in the right half of the country. And yeah, as I said, got the Andes running right the way down it. So I know here that we're cooler. You've got snow on the mountains. You do find snow on the mountains up here for some reason, even though it's like one of the hottest places in the world. It's because of the elevation, I know. Duh. But in my brain, there shouldn't be snow up there. But yeah, we're drier, we're cooler. It just, yeah, it feels, and again, this is what I'm getting into. You pick up a feel for what each region feels like. But you can also use the map. So as we can see over here, definitely flat with a few hills. And we've got a massive ridge over here. So automatically rules out all of this in here. As you can see, we'd see mountains over here. We'd see, you know, elevation. Unless we're like over here. But again, it doesn't have the straight ridge that is found in and around here. So Mendoza province leading up to Mendoza, San Juan. You see the flatness way over there, and you see the mountains off to the west. Then you can sort of go in and you look, and you see that I'm just stalling because I am trying to remember what road I actually put it on. There. I have done this. I was by no means gonna try and just 5k it straight off the bat because we'd be here for ages, even though it's one of a pretty 5kable region. But yeah, you see, because the mountains are closer as well, you can use that. And then we know we're somewhere on this road to Mendoza. We also, I've forgotten to mention, we have the road number. So that's a big one. So it's RN Road National, I believe. I literally just made that up then. It seems like it's right. We got the 40. So then what you'd do is you go in, you scan around, you know you're in this region. Again, makes it a hell of a lot easier when you're scanning, when you know what region you're in. Say you didn't, and you would just try and scan the whole of Argentina here. The 40 run, well, the 40 run's pretty long anyway, but yeah. You know you're on the 40, you know you're somewhere around here. The landscape doesn't fit for down here because I've just realised the 40 is a pretty long road. And you know you're leading into Mendoza up here, somewhere around here-ish. I'm actually going to move it off the 5 because that was near the 5k. And you're around there. 37 miles away, and that on, unless again you're at a sort of pro level and you want to, you know, show off a bit and do the 5k, it's a sick feeling to do it, but most of the time getting that far is fine. If, you know, you're both on low health and you need to do it, I'd probably, once you know the right region, and don't hold me to this, you can do something different, but I'd get the guess in early. You know, realistically, most of the time you'd get about, pre-multis you'd get about 30-40 points here. If the multis are high, then yes, but most of the time just getting the right region is fair enough. But step 5, the final step. Congratulations, you made it. The final step is pinpointing or 5k'ing or whatever you want to call it. Basically just getting the exact location, which is, it's a pretty good feeling. If you pop it off in a random duel and it's a hard location, and I count 5k'ing as anything sort of, I know I'm going to do the exact one here, but anything within sort of 20 points of doing it, or in 4,900 or above, if it's a harder round, that's pretty sick. But getting the exact location is pretty sick. I picked a pretty 5k'able one here. You've got an intersection. We've got the road number, so we already know we're on that. First things first, and tip, even if you're not trying to find the exact one, I always double tap you can't see it there, so double tap the compass, puts you so you immediately point for north. So the map you should see on your screen, the roads on that directly line up, you know, north to south. That's the way it goes. So you go and you look and you're like, okay, that sort of lines up here, but you immediately know, I mean, we're on the 40, so we're not, but you immediately know that you're not on this, you know? Not on this stretch of road. You can rule out here, can certainly rule out here. So massive major tool. You know, certainly in countries like Argentina, I'm not talking about countries where there's loads of roads and they can have similar road angles and all of that, but certainly countries with fewer roads, you should be trying to go north and then find a road angle that lines up. If you sort of look even up here, if you understand the way that this grid goes, or, you know, the grids of the US and certain things like that, yeah, major tool. And I always, even if I'm not trying to 5k, I always, before I pop a guess off, do that, have a quick look around for a road which sort of lines up. We know the general region we're in, so this is, it could be here, could really be here, but yeah, sort of with the closeness of the mountains there. Also, if you do go further down the road and you're playing moving, I had a look before and there's a sign which says Chilequito. So using signs as well. I mean, if you're playing no move, it's very rare that you get a sign that tells you that you've got that there and that there. But if you do, that really does help with lining it up. And then we're at an intersection, so we know we're definitely not here. Definitely not here. I mean, with the road angles wrong anyway. Can't be, well, could be there. But we've got sort of more stuff down here. It looks like we've got that restaurant. Probably serves some, knowing the Argentinians, some amazing ground beef. And we should be. It'll be really embarrassing if we're not. We should be there. We're directly on the intersection. Woohoo! 10 yards away. And that is that. So hopefully, just click next, we're on the last thing. Yeah, so hopefully that sort of, takes you through the processes. Again, depending on what level you're at, you don't have to go through all of that. You can pick and choose. I mean, the people who are already sort of at the 5k level, they probably already know how to do that. But honestly, just try. Just see if you can. And just keep playing. Keep playing. Literally, there's no substitute for just playing over and over again. Whatever game mode, whatever you want to do, just do it and you'll pick it up, but that should be the process that you should go through your progression. I'm not talking about if you're in sort of like Silver League or whatever, or Gold League. You can try and do that, but certainly just getting the continent at times is hard enough. I picked a pretty easy one there. And this is by no means me saying like I get the continent and the country every time. If anyone wants to go back and look at my videos, I mean, the latest one I went Ecuador on Cambodia, which is a terrible, terrible decision. It happens to the best and the worst of us. So do not get disheartened in it. But yeah, that is absolutely the progress you should go on through your GeoGuessr journey, is that level of stepping up, of just being like, right, this is the half of the world it's in, even that, and then this is the continent. Getting the continent is good enough, and then you go to the country, and it's like, you know now that this is Argentina. Your opponent might not know that. Your opponent might go see some big hills, and he might think you're in Peru, and then you win the game, and then you get into it and you start playing people, and then they know this is Argentina, and then you're like, oh shit, that's war, it's fine. We're in Argentina. I've now got to get the right bit of Argentina, and then you go, right, I've got to get the right bit of that bit, and then you got to go like, right, I've got to get the exact bit. Cool. I will definitely be doing more stuff like this. But yeah, my voice is tired and I need a break now. So like, subscribe, and comment if you want to see more stuff like this. And hopefully that has helped a bit.